Hello, Alexers. Contrarian truths are having a minute, but what exactly is this modern philosophical school of thought that we keep hearing about? Well, a contrarian, in simple terms, is a troll, but not in the awful social media sense. Well, not always. They are people who have adopted a mindset that sees beyond the tracks laid down to a broader future that there is to create. Or that's how one of the most outspoken and well-known contrarians of our time put it. He is Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal and early investor in Facebook, SpaceX, and LinkedIn. He believes in the exercise of thinking, questioning, and rethinking what you might otherwise have considered stone-cold fact. Behind every delusional popular belief, Thiel believes there's a contrarian truth. But is this even possible to shift our minds? Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Well, we're about to introduce to you 15 topics as contrary truths to what you were led to believe. And who knows, we might just convince you to change your belief on some of them. Straight off the bat, we can give you access to Peter Thiel's audiobook if you use our link, alux.com/freebook. Why not check it out after the video? Speaking of which, let's get started. Number 1. Bubble. Before we get to the heavyweight beliefs, we need to understand bubbles. Bubbles are basically old or conventional beliefs. Take something like bloodletting. In the 19th century, it seemed perfectly rational the best cure for a headache was a hole in the back of the head and draining some blood off. In fact, it was the household cure for just about anything. Smallpox, bloodletting. Cancer, bloodletting. Asthma, bloodletting. Blood loss, more bloodletting. We're all getting bloodletting! Anyways, as soon as medical science changed their mind on bloodletting, the bubble burst. It suddenly seemed like a terrible idea, and no one going forward could figure out how it seemed rational in the first place. It taught us all some serious lessons about medical cures, and has in some ways warped the way we think about medical science today. In a more recent bubble was the internet bubble of the 90s. The lessons learned from this has defined and distorted how we consider technology today. To be able to get a better view on today, we need to question all the preconceived ideas we might have had from the past. Number 2. It's not an opposites game. To think contrary doesn't mean just to believe the opposite. If someone said that the planet Mercury was hot, a contrarian wouldn't just launch into thinking that Mercury was cold. What it means is challenging previous dogmas so we can rethink the way the world is. Perhaps Mercury is not hot, but rather just an absence of cold. This is a ridiculous example, but you get the picture. Peter Thiel put it way better when he said, "The most contrarian thing of all is not to oppose the crowd, but to think for yourself." So on that note, let's upset the apple cart of previously held beliefs. Number 3. College doesn't pay off. Not many people would swap their college years for anything, but it's mostly for the fun and friendships. Slow down, troll, put your comments away. We don't mean qualifications that require specific license degrees like pilots, surgeons, and lawyers. We're talking about art curators, farm managers, or marketing managers. A less accepted truth is that for most people, the career boost it gives you could be achieved if you've begun work experience right out of school. So you're asking, what would be the benefit of not getting a degree if you end up in the same place at the same time? Well, the college student racks up mountains of debt, which the work experiencer doesn't. The graduate has to flatten all of the debt first before they can grow their wealth. So for this reason, the reality is college doesn't really pay off for most. Number 4. Ideas don't necessarily make the world a better place. Well, we didn't promise that you would love these truths, but the simple fact is, it's better to think a bit broader about this one. When you find out about a great new idea, it's tempting to exclaim it in merriment, "Ah, ideas, they make the world a better place." But then we must consider all the ideas and whether they made the world a better place. And I'm sure when you consider most weapons, torture methods, and the song Friday by Rebecca Black, not all ideas made the world better. A lot of contrarian thinking involves not taking things at face value and investigating the truth, rather than applying blanket statements to things. Oh, and we're not done talking about Rebecca Black, so stick around. Number 5. Competition and capitalism are opposites. As soon as you think of communism or socialism, most people will think of a non-competitive society. That is the long-held argument that promotes the wonders of capitalism. But walk with me, if you will, while we unpack this one. Capitalism is the business of getting rich, of earning and keeping capital. Competition, on the other hand, means leaning down, trimming the fat, and shaving down the costs and sales price until profit margins are near zero. If we were truly competitive, no one would ever make money. The truth is, competition isn't as attractive as we make it out to be when it comes to business. What businesses really should strive for in pursuit of profit is monopoly. Now, when we hear of the M word, we often think of evil moguls killing the competition. But what if you thought of it contrary to those common long-held beliefs? Monopolies are only really harmful in a world where nothing changes. A monopoly means new products for everybody and profits for the creator. When something more innovative comes into the market, then the monopoly's position is challenged. Then an innovation cycle is forced to begin again. However, competition means just doing the same thing for less, and no one really gains in that equation. Number 6. Master of none is better than an expert. We've all heard the saying, jack of all trades, master of none, but it isn't just a universal blanket truth that should be applied to everything. The truth is that having a broad knowledge gives you a huge advantage no matter what career you're in. We are not knocking experts. Please understand that jobs like surgeons must have a laser focus on those skills. But a surgeon who also reads broadly on topics like politics, religion, diet, and psychology has a better chance of understanding and treating the entire human condition than one who just reads Surgeons Weekly or whatever specialist magazine surgeons get. Your credentials might get you through the door, but it's your worldview and understanding that will prove to be much more valuable. Number 7. It's better to risk boldness than triviality. This one won't sit well with many, and that comes down to how we frame our worldview based on the dot-com bubble burst of the early 2000s. Most younger generations believe it's better to make small, incremental growth and stay humble. Now we consider anyone who has a brave new idea to be a fraud, and well, Elizabeth Holmes did nothing to shake the stigma, but there are some real new ideas out there, and we're rather fast to cast doubt on anyone with lofty goals. A contrarian in business would rather risk a failure than disappearing mundanely into the crowd. And that is, in essence, the crux of why we need contrarians to move the world forward. Number 8. Sales are as important as product. Another widely adopted view by the post-dot-com era of conservative entrepreneurs is that if the product is good enough, it will sell itself. But this is not true, because if you consider the opposite, if a product is bad, no matter the sales effort, it won't sell. Then why the heck does TiVo have so much success? In other words, sales strategies are paramount to business success. Failing to have an excellent sales strategy will lead to failure. And if you spend a fortune developing your product and you think you can't afford to spend another cent on sales and marketing, well, then we've got news for you. You just gotta. Working out how much to spend goes something like this. Calculate how much profit you make per customer over the lifetime of your relationship with them. Then take that profit amount and back it off a bit. And that is the maximum budget you have to spend on sales per customer without tanking your profit. Now go forth and prosper. Number 9. EQ sets you apart more than IQ. It's widely accepted that emotional intelligence is important, but we always think if we don't have the IQ to back it up, it doesn't count. But most successful people connect with all people, not just the ones they like, not just when they're agreeing with people, but always. Life is so much easier to navigate and succeed with a high EQ. The best part of EQ is it can grow as you learn and mature emotionally. IQ, however, is pretty much allotted to you, but it's what you do with it that counts. Number 10. Forget US stocks. The world is so much bigger than the space between the east and the west coast of North America. Don't limit your financial future by placing it only in US stocks. They might be secure and operate in a good environment, but they are also expensive, and there are far better international alternatives out there to add to your portfolio. Number 11. Risk is increased by risk controls. Risk is a deviation from the benchmark of a financial portfolio. Fund managers spend their careers refining their skills to minimize the difference between their market assumptions that define their strategy and how the market actually performs. In essence, reducing the risk they don't make the growth they planned. But the irony is, this makes portfolios look just like the market, and while it might reduce short-term risk, it links you to real market-related risks. Strict risk controls reduce flexibility and active share, and you can bet your bottom line your portfolio will never outperform the market. Sure, you can be a total cowboy, but there has to be flexibility if you don't want to tank when the bottom falls out of the market again. Now, if you enjoy learning about investing, check out our video, 15 Ways to Invest $1 Million. Number 12. Talk about religion, talk about politics, and talk about money. Life's too short for small talk. Dive in and take the bitter with the sweet. Maybe it'll end up in a family feud, but more likely it'll be lively, insightful, and certainly entertaining at the very least. There's no need to ring-fence topics like family stew. It just shows you don't really trust or love each other in different opinions. The same goes for your friends. Don't let your differences of opinions stop some robust conversations from happening. Keep your cool and jump in. The worst that could happen is you learn something new. Number 13. Globalization is not advancement. We think of rural areas of the world modernizing as major technological advances, but it really isn't close. That's just rolling out the same services, many of which have been available elsewhere for 100 years. Sure, you might be using different ways to generate electricity or clean water, but it's access to electricity and water nonetheless, and that's not novel. It's just copying things that are tried and tested and moving them to a new place. In other words, horizontal progress. Technology is a vertical progress, when new things are discovered and the world changes to something different than before. Number 14. Rebecca Black's Friday isn't actually bad. Rebecca Black's 2011 song might have been a total earworm, but it isn't actually as bad as it was made out to be. It uses the exact same chord progression that pop music has had since the 1950s, and is in every chart-topping song from Britney Spears to Justin Bieber, so we have to give her a break on melody. The most impressive feat that Friday pulled off was it taught us how the internet, music, and virality would work. She essentially was the first unknown person to break the internet, and in doing so created the blueprint for every viral moment for the next 9 years. Not bad for a Friday's work. And now for the clincher. Number 15. A bad plan is better than no plan. Another top talking point of Peter Thiel is this one, and it's probably one that is the hardest to get your head around. But why would anyone make a bad plan and then follow it? That seems kinda ridiculous, right? But what he really proposes is having a plan means you have a vision or an end goal, and that's the important part. Sure, you might find that step A to B didn't work out, but you're moving forward toward that goal anyway. You might just need to circumnavigate hiccups or redirect your focus before you move ahead. So even though it sounds absurd, it's better to have some kind of plan than none at all, because then at least you have some kind of measure to go by. So, Alexers, which of these contrarian truths hurt you the most? And what belief do you hold that others don't agree with you about? Let us know in the comments. Now, since you stuck with us until the end, we do of course have a bonus for you. Brunettes are better than blondes. So for the better part of 60 years, we've been sold on the idea that blondes are better than brunettes. Blondes have more fun and blondes are dumb. But the studies say completely otherwise. Blondes being dumb has certainly stuck. Even in the 21st century, a study by Weir and Fine Davis found that men perceive brunettes to be much more intelligent than blondes. Weird, we know. Perhaps blondes have more fun, but a study by pharmaceutical chain Superdrug found that men consider brunettes to make better wives. It went on to reveal that men think that women with dark hair are generally deeper and have more integrity. Ouch, talk about baseless opinions. And lastly, being blonde doesn't pay off when it counts. A study had participants look at the resumes of 3 different applicants, a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. They outright perceived the brunette applicant to earn a higher salary than the other women. Thank you for spending some time with us, A-Luxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question on our website, alux.com. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.